Hello, my dears. Mabel Thompson here, 103 years old. You are watching a century flash by. To be clear, this is not medical advice. Go to the hospital for a broken leg. But I have outlived almost every doctor who ever warned me. I've seen 2 world wars and 18 presidents. But you know what? The truth never changes. Before you click away, sit down. Let me tell you what actually matters. I am speaking directly to those of you in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. You wake up, look at those plastic pill organizers with the days of the week printed on them, and wonder how you ended up needing 12 different medications just to get through a Tuesday. At 63 years old, a prominent physician handed me a stack of glossy pamphlets about mental decline, prescribed me a bottle of cholesterol pills, and told me to prepare for my own fading reality. I threw the pills in the garbage. Today, I am 103 years old. My memory is sharper than most 40-year-olds. And that doctor? He passed away 2 decades ago, spending his final years unable to remember his own name. You walk into a room, forget why you went in there, and a cold sweat breaks out on your neck because you are terrified you are losing your mind. You think it is just normal aging or bad genetics. It is not normal. It is starvation. Your human brain is not made of carbohydrates. It is not made of fiber. 60% of your brain is made of pure fat. Yet, since the 1960s, experts waged a relentless war against natural animal fats. They terrified an entire generation into throwing away egg yolks, pushing us to consume highly processed vegetable oils. Those factory oils, corn, canola, soybean, they go rancid in your bloodstream. They create massive inflammation in your joints, your arteries, and your neurons. I refuse to participate in that experiment. Every single morning since the Eisenhower administration, I have eaten 3 whole eggs, cooked gently in real churned butter. The Creator designed the egg yolk as the ultimate survival engine. It is packed with choline, the exact building block your brain requires to formulate memories and recall the faces of your grandchildren. Throwing away the yolk is like buying a luxury car and tossing the engine into a dumpster. I don't stop at eggs. I consume a heavy portion of ground beef, seared in a cast iron pan with salt. People spend $50 at supplement stores trying to buy energy in a plastic bottle. But a cow is a biological miracle. It stands in the sunshine, eats simple grass, and transforms it into the iron, zinc, and B vitamins your aging muscles are desperately begging for. If food comes in a crinkly bag with a cartoon mascot on it, or has 47 unpronounceable ingredients from a laboratory, it does not enter my house. But here's the twist. Here's the secret that will make every health guru lose their mind. You can eat my exact diet. You can buy the organic beef, eat the dark berries, and swallow your expensive fish oil. But if your spirit is rotting from the inside, your body will still collapse. I told you that a rotting spirit will destroy a healthy body. Let me explain the first way you are poisoning your own spirit. You are doing it by refusing to live in the present moment. You are infected with the disease of someday. I had a colleague named Evelyn. We taught in the same school district for decades. Evelyn was a master at postponing her own joy. She hoarded her vacation days like they were gold coins. Whenever I asked her to take a weekend trip or simply go out for a nice dinner, she would wave her hand and say, "Not yet, Mabel. When I hit 65, I am going to buy a little cabin up by the lakes. I will sit on the porch, read my books, and that is when my life will finally begin. Evelyn suffered a massive fatal stroke at the age of 63. She never bought the cabin. She never sat by the lake. All those saved vacation days vanished into thin air. She spent 40 years packing her dreams into a cardboard box, fully believing that the calendar guaranteed her a withdrawal. Listen to me, especially those of you who have just crossed your 60th birthday. The calendar of later is completely blank. There are absolutely no guarantees printed on tomorrow's page. Happiness is not a retirement pension you collect after surviving the miserable parts of your life. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting until your joints stop aching or until your bank account hits a certain number. The only time you actually own is right now. But to enjoy the present, your mind must be crystal clear. You cannot appreciate today if your brain is clouded by fog. Beyond the eggs and the beef, I rely on a specific armor from the dirt. Every single afternoon, I consume a heavy handful of dark berries, blueberries, blackberries, the darkest ones I can find. People think fruit is just sugar. They are entirely missing the point. The deep, dark pigment in those berries is literally medicine. Scientists call them polyphenols. Those dark compounds are one of the very few things on earth capable of breaching the fortress of your mind, the blood-brain barrier. They cross over and act as a biological cleanup crew, repairing damaged neurons and putting out the fires of inflammation. The earth engineered this brilliant defense mechanism and disguised it with a sweet flavor so human beings wouldn't ignore it. You don't need a synthetic pill from a pharmacy. You need the dark medicine that grows from the ground. And then there is the most disrespected medicine of all. For 40 years, I have been asleep by 9 p.m. I do not apologize for it, and I do not make exceptions. Modern society treats sleep like it is a weakness. We praise the people who survive on 4 hours of rest. We call them hustlers and hard workers. Let me tell you what they actually are. They are accelerating their own dementia. When you fall into deep, uninterrupted rest, a literal wash cycle activates inside your skull. Researchers recently named it the glymphatic system. Spinal fluid rushes into your brain and aggressively sweeps away the toxic debris, the metabolic waste, and the sticky proteins that build up during the day. If you cut your sleep short, that cleaning cycle shuts off prematurely. The garbage just sits there. It hardens into plaques. And a decade later, they find those exact same plaques on an autopsy table and label it Alzheimer's disease. Resting is not a character flaw. It is not laziness. Sleep is non-negotiable brain maintenance. Shut off the glowing screens, ignore the late-night news designed to terrify you, and go to bed. So you eat the dark berries. You sleep your 8 hours. You think you are completely safe. You are not. Because there is a highly toxic acid that millions of older folks are drinking every single morning, it does not come in a bottle, but it will eat through your memory faster than any disease. That highly toxic acid is chronic, unresolved bitterness. I had a neighbor back in the 1980s. Let us call him Richard. Richard was an absolute fanatic about his physical condition. He jogged 3 miles every single dawn, swallowed handfuls of premium supplements, and treated his earthly body like an untouchable temple. Yet he passed away from a terribly aggressive illness right before his 70th birthday. Everyone was shocked. I was not, because Richard's mind was a fortified prison of resentment. He had severed all ties with his own younger brother over a meaningless financial dispute 3 decades prior. He dragged that silent fury with him everywhere he went, nursing his anger as if it were a precious pet. The illness was just the final physical blow. The chronic hostility is what truly dismantled his defenses. This is not just an old woman's philosophical theory. It is biological fact. When you hold on to a grudge, your system is endlessly flooded with stress chemicals, primarily cortisol. Over the years, this constant state of internal alarm acts like a corrosive acid, literally eating away at your hippocampus, the exact center of your brain where your most precious memories are stored. Unforgiveness is a slow-acting venom you force yourself to drink daily, somehow hoping the person who wronged you will suffer the consequences. I am not preaching from a high horse. I had to learn this the painful way. So, my own mother was a severely strict, emotionally distant woman. For decades into my adulthood, I carried a heavy, invisible burden of anger over how she raised me. I thought that if I forgave her, I was validating her harshness. But when I finally decided to let that anger drop, she did not change. She was already gone. But I changed. My chest physically felt lighter. The constant tension in my neck vanished. I honestly believe my mind became sharper the day I stopped using my brain capacity to maintain a 30-year-old resentment. Listen to me carefully. Forgive the people who hurt you. Not because their actions were acceptable, and certainly not because they deserve your pardon. You forgive them because your brain and your soul absolutely require peace to survive. You do not have the luxury of wasting your remaining cognitive energy on historical anger. This brings me to the second fatal trap for folks our age. You work hard your whole life. You finally get your gold watch. You leave your demanding career, and then you accidentally resign from living altogether. You wake up with an empty calendar. You sit in a recliner, you let the television dictate your thoughts, and your incredibly efficient brain decides that since it is no longer needed, it might as well start dismantling itself. I am 103 years old, and I am out of bed before the sun rises at 5:30 every morning. Not because I have to clock into a factory, but because my tomato vines require tending to, because I have a neighbor who needs advice he is too stubborn to ask for, because my great-granddaughter is expecting my phone call, and I absolutely refuse to be asleep when she dials my number. A mind without a mission is a mind that will quickly fade. You do not need a grand, world-changing destiny printed on a vision board. You just need a tiny, undeniable reason to put your feet on the floor today. But even with the right food, the deepest sleep, and a clear purpose, life is still going to break your heart. That is a guarantee. I buried the absolute love of my life after 68 years of marriage. How do you survive a grief that massive without losing your mind? A decade ago, I had to say goodbye to the man I loved for almost 7 decades. The morning after we laid him to rest, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, weeping uncontrollably, feeling entirely hollowed out. My teenage granddaughter walked into the room completely terrified by the sight of my absolute heartbreak. She froze, not knowing what to say. I wiped my eyes, looked at her, and said, "He's spent half a century warning me I wouldn't know how to run this house without him. I suppose the stubborn old fool was right." She let out a sudden laugh. Then we both cried again, and then we laughed through the tears. That is how you survive the unimaginable. That is how you survive all of it: the loss, the physical decline, and the terrifying news from the doctor. You do not survive by pretending the tragedy doesn't hurt. It hurts terribly, but if you can find just a tiny sliver of humor in the darkest room, you can keep your sanity. Life guarantees that it will break your heart. The only choice you have is whether you let that breaking turn you into something brittle and bitter, or if you let it crack you open to become softer and more compassionate. Before I leave you today, there is one final illusion you need to drop. For your entire life, you have treated yourself like a renovation project that needs fixing. You think you will finally be worthy of peace when your blood pressure drops to a normal range, when your children visit you more often, or when you lose those last 10 pounds, or when you finally correct the mistakes you made in your past. Hear me clearly right now. You are completely sufficient exactly as you are sitting here today. I spent too many decades of my youth trying to earn my space on this earth, chasing approval, chasing the right image, thinking I had to achieve more to be allowed to feel okay. That was the greatest waste of my 103 years. Not the wrong foods, not the late nights. The waste was not realizing that I was already enough. You are not a broken machine. You are not a burden. You are a living, breathing miracle, carrying a century of human resilience in your blood. Stop waiting for external permission to feel at peace with yourself. I do not know if I have 1,000 sunrises left, or only 10. And frankly, I have stopped trying to guess. But I know the formula. Nourish your brain with actual food from the earth, not factory chemicals. Purge the heavy grudges from your chest, because they are rusting you from the inside out. Find a tiny reason to step out of bed tomorrow morning, and laugh even when your heart is shattered. The calendar of later is an illusion. The time to heal is right now. Now, go fry your eggs in real butter. Call the people who matter while their phones still ring, and forgive yourself. I am Mabel Rose Thompson. I am 103 years old. He's still standing on my own 2 feet and still telling the truth. If this old woman brought some comfort or clarity into your day, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. Share this with someone who desperately needs to hear it. And let us continue writing this beautiful history together. I love you all.